Hey everyone, so today I want to go over the changes in Vault Hunters patch 9, and that is because I intend on doing these patch notes from now on, and let's start with the vaults themselves. As you can see, this is a new theme. New themes have been added, and this is one of them, being one of the pirate themes. And I started in a vault because one of the first things I want to show you is in the POIs. Because if we go to one of them, you're gonna see that now all of POIs inside the vault will be fizzle spawners or the ambush spawners, and they spawn different mobs. This one, for example, is assassin, if I'm not mistaken, where it spawns just a few enemies, but they are a big threat, dealing a lot of damage. Now, if we try to find another one, in this one it spawned a lot of mobs, but they are very weak, so it's easy to take them out with a bit of AoE. These are the horde spawners. We also have tank and mixed. Tank are enemies with a lot of HP, but it's kind of easy to maneuver around them and deal with them. We just need to have high damage. And the mixed vaults spawners have a bit of every mob in the pool from the vault, because now the mobs can be textured more around the vault they are in. As you saw in this one, it's a bit piratey when it comes to the skeletons, and drowned because, well, sailors do tend to drown, isn't that right? Also, once you get to a spawner to fizzle, you see that some mobs, the first ones spawned by the spawner, because in dungeons and challenge rooms, there are no ambush spawners, they keep spawning, but only the first ones have these particles, meaning that they are the only ones that will drop the soul shards. However, that is because you don't should not be able to just farm a spawner that is not going to go out to get these shards. And the amount of shards dropped has been increased, and the way you spend shards is still at the black market. That, let me just get one of here. Once you have the black market, inside you can see that the choices you have here are much higher now, the prices, and you no longer get those low price bounties trades, and only the higher ones. That is so that the traders do actually mean something, and gives you a reason to actually check the black market. Not only that, the time you have to do the trades is 2 hours now, and every 2 hours the trades will change. That is because, let me just fill my inventory with soul shards, and if I do take one of them, as you can see, the others do not lock out, do not reroll, nor does this one. The only way for them to reroll now is after the 2 hours have passed. Now, as for vault tools, well, first things first, they, as you can see, are much cheaper to craft now. And now, in a vault tool, if you do give it efficiency 5, and then let's say any type of affinity, that tool now can insta break the affinity it is supposed to be able to break. So you just need affinity for the type of chest and efficiency 5, and no matter the stats or the mining speed you add to the pickaxe, it can insta break the other types of chests, the ones according to the affinity. However, that is not the case to these new ones that have been added, the strong boxes. These strong boxes do not have an UI, I mean, meaning that you cannot open them with right click normally. This cannot happen inside the vault. However, if you do break one, you get twice the loot a normal one would give, and you need to. I do not think you need to have affinity, but it sure expedites the process, since these ones are hard to break and they kind of work like wooden chests when broken. You just need to break them once, you get all the loot. Also, they start appearing in vaults after level 50. So if you are not at that level yet, you can expect to see them after you reach that level. Now let's go where the truly big changes begin, that being the vault gear. As you can see, I'm using a sword and an axe here, and that is to show you the difference between these two weapons. So first things first, now their damage, as you can see in the statistics, have the same range, they do the same damage, and the difference is that axes now do increase your reach, meaning that you can attack from farther away. Also, as you can see, these no longer have the tiers. That is because the lower value will always be the lowest value you can get throughout all the tiers you can get, and the higher value will be the higher value you can get from the highest tier you can get. But if I press Alt besides Shift, you can see what did I hold. Now, but going back to testing the swords and the shield, the X, as you can see, I'm in range, I'm in range, I'm in range, and I stopped being in range. But with an X, I'm still in range. Now, besides that, the other differences that were made to these weapons have been that, for example, as you can see, there is nether damage now, and Bane, Holy, and Spiteful have been changed to Arthropod damage, Illager damage, and undead damage. That is to make it simpler to know what kind of sword will affect each kind of mob. Not only that, but a new cloud has been added, that being the Fear Cloud. That if you remember the Poison Cloud or the Healing Cloud, that will still happen, but with fear, the mobs that are in range will become feared towards you. Also, I'm using a shield because shields have also been affected with the changes. As you can see, now with implicits, there are 4 different implicits for shields. The durability and block chance stayed, but now you get Thorns damage and Thorns chance. This has been a change to both help shields and thorns to be more in tandem with, in the same playing field as idols, and you just don't use an idol without going for shields. This just makes the shields a bit more desirable. And the way it works is that you have a chance to proc the thorns, and the damage you'll do in thorns is tied to that damage on the shield. There are some other minor differences, but those will be not really worth mentioning, besides increased durability on magnets, and not only that, you also got a new relic. Not relic, a new trinket, I mean. Now, as for why I'm in the Vault Station, Vault Forge, well, that's simple. Now, the price stayed the same. However, now, when you craft the gear, the proficiency you get is higher. This is because it is helping you achieve mastering a type of gear faster, because previously it felt a bit sluggish and a bit slow to get to the point where you really want to be crafting gear, because you would be spending too many resources to get to a nice point. Now, as for the Vault Recycler, it has also been buffed, and the way it has been buffed is that the chance to get uh, faceted focus have been increased. Not only that, Volterite ingots now have another use, that if you see Volt Alloy, I have it over here, it's easier, you can craft it with simply 2 Volterite ingots, making it a bit more desirable to use your scrap metal to do that. Because honestly, in my opinion, before, scrap metal, the best use for it was to get soul shards. Now, if we go to the skill page, as you can see, as I'm going through, there are a lot of new faces here. For example, some old skills gain some specializations. For example, Ghostwalker, which gives you an invisibility. Dash, now you can simply throw a dagger and go directly to that dagger. It works more or less like an Ender Pearl. I'm using dagger because it reminds me a bit of Final Fantasy 15. And not only that, if you hit on a mob, you change places with the mob. Now you also got a new charm taunt, which makes that mobs in a range, you charm them, a number of mobs within a range, not all the mobs within that range, get charmed and fight for you, dealing damage equal to the percentage of your damage. Not only that, Mana Shield also got Retribution, which the damage you absorb is stored and will be dealt in your next attack. And Stonefall also not quite as got new specializations. It's simply that because some changes inside the vaults, these 2 specializations had to be made different. Now, but some have lost specializations. As you can see, Vein Miner no longer has Fortune, and that is because of something that we'll see later. And Mega Jump, well, Drill didn't have much use, and not that many people used it. Most just used the Dig, or none at all, or Mega Jump, so they just removed the Drill. Not only that, but we also got new skills. For example, Shell, which is a bit of a defensive skill that either can stun mobs when hit, deals thorn damage and reduces the damage the armor piece takes, and Quill, which is thorns but AoE. You also get Totem, that is an ability that places a totem on the ground, and people inside the area of the totem well, they get some benefits, being that healing, be that damage over time, be it mana regen, or simply your own damage gets a buff. We also get Empowered, which is a speed based ability. Empowered by itself gives an aura of movement to those around you that are allies. And Empowered Ice Armor is the other way around, mobs nearby you to get a speed debuff. There is also the new skill Javelin that throws a javelin and deals damage to mobs, and it can simply deal damage. It goes through more mobs. Scatter, which if you know Overwatch, it's just Enzo Scatter. And Javelin Sight, that again, if you know Overwatch, it's like Enzo Sonar Arrow. So yeah, Enter did get a bit of a change that it only now the basics only goes through wooden chests and not the other chests, which is decent enough. There is also a reason to go for these ones now. I just wanted to say it now because it's in the middle of the next skill, Smite. That is, once you activate, you toggle the ability, and periodically mobs within your range take, well, a lightning bolt and damage. Archon makes it so that mobs that touch you take damage, and Thunderstorm is a bit of like Smite, but the time between lightning is lower. Also, some skills have been changed that the mana it takes to toggle abilities now are a bit lower. For example, in Power, I think, let's go to them, is a toggle ability and it doesn't cost a lot of mana. Well, it kind of does, but as you get to the max level, it will not cost that much. And the base mana regen as well as mana regen builds have been buffed so that you can permanently have toggle abilities on during your vault runs. The next part is talents, that is, the abilities that are passive but affect you directly in your strength when running vaults, your ability to deal with mobs. As there was before, there are some abilities you can simply take without any repercussion. Also, now there are some that you can take but lock out the other abilities. So, if you take like Stand, you cannot take Berserking. Not only that, there are some skills like these ones that require you to have Nova in some capacity. For example, in Nucleus, if you target a stun mob, there is a chance to afflict Nova. However, it deals your damage of Nova, meaning that you need to take Nova to take this talent. The same goes for Frostbite there or Blizzard. There is a chance of a mob being attacked by Frost Nova once it is slowed and you attack them. And Poison, an enemy that is being poisoned by Poison Nova, spreads that Poison Nova even further, so it gets a bit of a shining effect. Not only that, you also now have these masteries, well, not quite masteries itself, but these types of abilities. That is, as you can see, this square over here and the letter, well, the numbers on the bottom, it means that inside of this you can spend 6 talent skill points. So I could take 3 points in Fatal Strike, 1 point in each of the other ones. That meaning 6, and I cannot take any more points. The same goes for this too, and this one is simply all for the Javelin skill, which makes the Javelin skill so good. Next are expertises, which it's basically the same as talents, but while the talents are combat related, expertise is a bit more broad and just helpful overall. I have two on this one that is fortunate, just to remind me to show you that fortunate is now no longer a Vein Miner specialization, but instead a expertise. As for expertises, you gain 1 expertise every 5 levels, up to 20 at level 100. So, you don't have more than that to spend, so only 20 points will be spent on this page. And it is important to know where you want to spend them, because by the point you want to reroll the expertises you already chose, well, let me just show you. This is a neuralizer, which, by the way, thank you for the Man in Black reference. Well, this is very expensive for Omega Pox. Yeah, so just take the ones you want because you don't want to spend so many jewels to make a neuralizer. It's just expensive. You don't want to do it. And the research tabs also has something new to tell us. That being, first in the power section you have Botania Flux, which means that now we can use Botania to generate flux. Not only that, but if we go down, there is Alchemy, that only has 3 researches, and those are potions, because now there is a drawback to using potions, that being Using vanilla potions will mean that you don't heal as much because for each vanilla potion that you take, well, you use, you're gonna end up with a healing reduction, not slight healing reduction, but a percentile healing reduction. That being 20% for every time you use one, up to 80%. So you don't want to use vanilla potions if you can, well, not use them. And that is where vials enter. That being basically potions that heal two arts for at the starting level, and one recharges every 5 minutes, and the other recharges every 150 mob kills. Each of them has 6 charges, and well, you can only start recharging after you spent one of them. But that's only for 8 points, and there must be something good. And that's where the researchers come into play, because you can unlock higher tiers. For example, the potion 6 hit points, which is 3 arts, 4 arts for the mixture, and the brew is 5 arts. The number of recharges, it's always 5 minutes or 150 kills, and it's always 6 charges. So start thinking about going from vanilla potions to these new Vault Hunter potions. There have also been some quality of life changes. For example, the skill altar. That is because with the skill altar, you can simply have some Orbs of Regrets here, and as you see the pages on top, you can use them to save your abilities. Right now I'm in a setup that might be good to run vaults. However, if I want to gather resources and travel through the overworld, I just come here to the other skill page where I have this set of abilities saved and just load the abilities. And I used one regret charge and I changed all of my abilities. So yeah, this is a good way to change your abilities and try new setups, because you can just save the one you like and go back if you decide you don't like the new one. Now, if let's say I have some unidentified stuff, let's say a sword, some pieces of gear, and shields, maybe even a magnet. Well, I can come here to the identification stand, right click it, and it automatically rolls every gear I have in my inventory that has been before unidentified to identify them. So yeah, this just saves time. It goes a bit like, well, yeah, I don't see it rolling yet, I don't get that dopamine of seeing it getting a big omega or something like that, but you still feel happy for getting on omega. It's just you don't get that feeling of waiting for the whole to end and wow, it's a good piece of gear. Now, if I get some emeralds, because I think IXP I don't need because I'm, well, in creative, I just place here the piece of gear and I can simply say what I want. So looting, enchanted, and now my sword is looting. And then breaking, same thing. It just costs emeralds, and as you saw before, and breaking, well, one level of the experience and 5 emeralds. Just click it and you got your piece of gear enchanted. This is also a way to reduce the number of villagers you need. Do not make a lot of library villagers like I have in my single player world. And yeah, these are the ones tables that have been introduced for quality of life. Honestly, they're all good. I just feel like this one is good if you have a lot of stuff in your inventory to reroll to save on time, but it also loses a bit of that wonder of waiting for the rolls to end. Now, this is the vaulthunters.gg patch note page, and let me just read the other part, as you can see, because it's changes that happened, but are not really game changers. So let's go through the most important of them. Well, remove death penalty multiplier for spirits, added a new difficulty, piece of cake, scavenger vaults objectives difficulty lowered from levels 50 to 75, vanilla crit hits no longer apply on it effects, vault fighter speed reduced to lower than that of the player, new faster vault fighters added but with lower damage, fluids in vaults reduced to 1 deep, power snow removed from snow themes, lava removed from nether themes, living chests can now contain home inscriptions, fireworks can no longer be used inside vaults, flutter egg rarely added to mystery egg, choice flask recipes changed, added driftwood logs and planks, added recipe to uncraft vault meat and heavy vault meat, simple storage network, refined storage, and Applied Energetics 2 prices lowered. Simple Storage Network had some problems that caused crashes, and is recommended to change to Refined Storage or Applied Energetics 2. And new game rules have also been added that are these ones, but I'll also link the Vault Hunters patch note pages in the description if you don't know it. If you know it, just go and check. This has been a rundown of the patch, or at least the most important pages, and in a short, succinct way. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll try to make them faster next time. This one has just been a bit of a big one and it took me a bit longer. So, yeah, that's the patch. I personally loved it and it seems like the game is much more interesting now. Tell me what you are thinking of the patch so far. And until the next video, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do leave a like and subscribe. Bye bye.